Who is the best quarterback in the 2024 NFL Draft? What's going on, football fans? I know you want to know if your team should be drafting one of these quarterback prospects. Which quarterback should they be picking? Maybe they're high in the draft. Maybe they're looking for a potential starter for the future. I'm going to break down each of the top 7 prospects at the quarterback position in this year's NFL Draft. It's a pretty solid draft class for the quarterback position, and there are plenty of big names entering this year's NFL Draft. I will give you my unbiased opinion on each individual prospect, how I feel they will translate to the NFL level, and give you an in-depth look based on my tape study of each player. I come from a unique perspective when it comes to quarterbacks and when it comes to prospects and when it comes to the draft. I cover the NFL, so I feel I have an eye for the NFL and the game of the NFL and what translates to the NFL level from the college game. And I feel over the years, I've done a pretty good job of analyzing that. I'm not perfect, and no one is, at especially evaluating quarterbacks. But I do have, in my opinion, a good feel for this position and what I'm looking for the NFL level and what NFL teams should be looking for in their quarterback, their future franchise quarterback. I am not a college football guy. I watch these prospects after their season ends. I don't follow them through high school. I don't really know their history. I don't know if they were supposed to be the first pick in the draft. So I have an unbiased perspective, and I just look at the tape and I watch them and I find some stats to back it up, what my eyes are seeing, and I provide my thoughts and my rankings. If that sounds good, man, Gronk spike the like button. If we get to 100 likes on this video, I will release my wide receiver rankings, because I know that's a position that a lot of people want to talk about. So I will release my wide receiver prospect rankings, probably a top 10 wide receivers list, if we get to 100 likes on this video. These are my top 7 quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL Draft in order with my preference, and I'll also give you my thoughts on where they should go in the NFL Draft and possibly which teams should take a look at these quarterbacks. So let's begin. Without further ado, let me know in the comment section what you guys think of my rankings. Let's begin at number 7 with the 7th best quarterback in the 2024 NFL Draft. That man is Bo Nix out of Oregon. Bo Nix is an older prospect. He's played in college football for a while, and he operated inside an Oregon system that was very much snap, get the ball out. A lot of at the line of scrimmage throws. And personally, I was not very impressed by Bo Nix on tape. I didn't see a lot of translatable skills that personally wowed me. I saw a gamer. I saw a toughness. I saw a bit of an athlete. But I did not see any consistency in terms of accuracy, in terms of putting the ball in the ball placement of where it needs to be on certain downfield concepts, intermediate throws, anything of that nature. I saw a smarter guy at the line of scrimmage that oftentimes would read the field, read the coverage, pre-snap, and determine where he was going to go with the ball very regularly and get the ball where it needed to go. But not necessarily somebody that's going to translate to the NFL level in terms of arm strength, in terms of accuracy, in terms of touch, in terms of ball placement. I thought immediately against better competition that he was very messy as a thrower, as a passer in particular. And I did not see arm strength that wowed me. I did not see a willingness to throw into tight windows, a lot of big-time throws down the field. I saw somebody that really delivered the offense the way it was designed in terms of screen passes, bubble screens, swing passes, getting the ball out, a lot of yards after catch, all that stuff. And I saw a little bit of toughness when he was running the ball. But He has some puzzling moments with decisions when the play breaks down and he's not able to go to his first read or it's not a designed concept. He had great protection at Oregon. I felt like their offensive line was very good. I felt like the receivers were solid. And obviously the offense was not really based on the quarterback. It felt like it was an offense that was designed around athletes, space, and timing, but not necessarily a quarterback going out there and making a lot of NFL level throws, which to me are largely intermediate, middle of the field throws, tight window throws. You rarely see that for me on Bo Nix's tape. He does have erratic ball placement, in my opinion. His mechanics, I think, are a little sloppy, and he tends to underthrow receivers down the field. I really did not find Bo Nix to be a future franchise quarterback. To me, I found him to be more of a mid-round potential backup in the NFL. Somebody like a Taylor Heineke, somebody like that, where he's a bit of a gamer. He doesn't have a great arm. He doesn't have a great physical skill set, but he seems to have a good attitude, and he can make some plays and go out there and have no fear. And that's kind of where I see the comparison to maybe a high-end backup in the NFL, maybe a guy that can operate a system, but not somebody that I would like to have as my future franchise quarterback, or even be willing to risk a pick that he's going to be that, because I just don't see it personally. Now, you may disagree. Let me know in the comments. I know that he's a bit of a quarterback that's divisive, so let me know. At number 6, I have Spencer Rattler, and I have a lot more in terms of positivity towards Spencer Rattler than Bo Nix. I actually felt like Spencer Rattler has not been talked at the same level as Bo Nix. Bo Nix has been brought up in terms of first round conversation, second round conversation, third round conversation. I think that Nix will likely go in the second, third round. Rattler will likely go after Bo Nix, but I prefer Spencer Rattler for a few reasons. I think he has more translatable skills to the NFL level, and the big one for me is the arm talent. I think Spencer Rattler has really nice arm talent, and it immediately popped on the tape. Now, I understand that he has some off-the-field things or attitude problems, which Bo Nix does not offer, and Bo Nix is a lot stronger in that off-the-field category, which I think would make him a more solid and consistent and high floor prospect. But Rattler has a higher ceiling. I saw some really nice things from him, and the first thing, of course, was the arm talent. He can throw the ball. He really can rip the ball at all levels. I think he puts really good velocity on the ball. I think he can get it downfield. I think he can throw it into tight windows. And what I also really liked about watching his tape was the fact that he consistently had to play under pressure, and he was pretty consistent in terms of making plays under pressure. He was breaking tackles. I think he showcases pretty good balance, even for a smaller quarterback, which I would call one of his negatives. I think he's about 6'1", 218, so he is smaller, but the arm talent is impressive. The balance in the pocket and ability to escape sacks was impressive. I think his gamer nature and his arm arrogance in terms of I'm going to go out and make a play every down, that definitely flashed to me. And I really liked it. You know, the ball comes out quick and explosive. He doesn't have bad pocket movement at all. He's very slick in the pocket. He knows how to avoid sacks, how to get away from pressure, and how to throw the ball. I really like how he's able to protect the ball in the pocket, move within the pocket, and then because he's surrounded by so much pressure on every down, step up, step around pressure, and then keep his eyes downfield and throw the ball. This was not always a positive for every prospect in this class. I think he does a very good job at seeing the field while under pressure and throwing the ball with good velocity. He throws the ball accurately and on time outside the numbers. I think he does a good job of that, which many of the prospects in this class seem to be able to do. He's a feisty player. I really like his toughness, especially in game. You know, you've got to deal with the personality. I think he's a little bit of a superstar and maybe a little bit of an ego, but I don't know, right? I haven't interviewed him. I haven't talked to him. So maybe when you get a sit down with him, you'll be able to find those things out. I think he does need to be more decisive sometimes and just be willing to get the ball out. When he identifies pressure, which I think he's not great at, he needs to be able to get rid of the ball to the right choice more often, more quickly, which I think is something Bo Nix does better than him. But I also felt like Rattler was dealing with a much worse situation. He does have some Baker Mayfield syndrome where he's not the most athletic guy in the world and he tries to escape or run when maybe he shouldn't, because his real talent is being able to throw the ball with velocity. So to me, I just like Rattler for a little bit of his upside in terms of his aggression as a passer, in terms of his arm strength, and in terms of his ability to work the pocket under pressure. So that's why I liked Spencer Rattler at number 6. At number 5, I have Michael Penix Jr., who I know has been surrounded in terms of rumors for the first round. Personally, I would not be willing to pick him in the first round, and there's a couple reasons why, but I do like some of the things that he brings to the table. He, first of all, has an injury history, which I think is a positive and a negative in terms of this. First of all, injury history, he plays differently because of it, and you can tell. He is an athletic guy who ran, I think, a 4.5 or a 4.45 at his pro day. And he does not play like it at all. He does not have any movement skills on his tape. He does not run. He does not even look to get away from pressure when he's able to. At least it's extremely rare. There's a couple of games where he's able to do that. And I think his best game by far is the Texas game in the big setting, which was nice to see. But then again, he followed it up with a pretty bad performance against Michigan. He'll be 24 in May, so he's an older prospect because of the injury history, and it feels like the injuries have held him back from being a more athletic, more playmaking style of player that you would like to see. But he does have high character, and the ability to come back from injuries speaks volumes in terms of his toughness, his mental fortitude, and his ability to persevere. So I appreciate all that stuff from Michael Penix in terms of mental capability and then off the field. I think that there's some positives I really like. I think he has solid size on tape. He's 6'3", 213 according to Wikipedia, but he looks bigger. He looks like a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", 220, 225. It says he's 6'3", 213, but if you compared him to somebody like Jayden Daniels, who weighed in at 210, 6'3" at his pro day, although he does not look like it on tape because he wasn't that big on tape because he put rocks in his pockets, I believe Michael Penix looks much larger of a human being naturally than Jayden Daniels, and they're about the same age. But what I also like about Penix, other than the aesthetics, which I think he looks like an NFL quarterback, he's got the size, he's got just the build, and he's really got an arm. He's got a strong arm. He can put gas on the ball. And it's funky to watch him play because he's a left-handed passer. He's lefty. So his mechanics look very weird just watching him because you're not used to watching him play. And it almost gives me Phillip Rivers vibes in terms of the way that he throws the ball and the way that he releases the ball. That's at least what I kind of saw. I was trying to place it, who it was exactly. But to me, it was Phillip Rivers. Like, he tends to put too much upper body into the throw. His lower body is very kind of solid and stagnant, and he doesn't tend to get his whole body into a throw, but he's got a very powerful upper half. I do wonder if that's going to end up kind of hurting his shoulder and his arm. Just the way he throws the ball, it just looks very funky to me, and I don't really love it, but it gets where it needs to go. Like, he puts gas on it, he puts power on the ball, and it's accurate a lot. Like, he is an accurate passer, especially off, outside the numbers, which is a good thing and a bad thing. We'll continue to talk about that. But yeah, wonky lefty mechanics that remind me of Phillip Rivers, where he's almost pushing the ball. He's pushing the ball instead of kind of torquing his body. That's just kind of what I see. I think he could definitely run a lot more than he does, for sure. There are plays where I was like, just run. Like, you've got speed, run. Especially after seeing his pro day, you wonder why he doesn't do it more. Is he afraid? Is he scared? I don't understand. He is a great vertical thrower. He throws the ball with a lot of touch down the field, and he seems to always get it in the right vicinity for his receivers to make plays. He throws the ball away a lot, and I think that's a positive. I think he knows when to, and I think this is because he doesn't run very much, honestly. So this could be looked at as a positive or a negative, but I think he does a good job of not turning the ball over and taking care of the ball and not getting negative plays. He is good at that. I would give him credit for that. So he doesn't make a lot of bad decisions. He did have great receivers, one of the best receiving corps in college football, if not the best, Very, very good receiving core, a very solid offensive line. And you wonder, because of the style that he plays, he is pocket stiff statue player. Like, he does not move, he does not scramble, he does not extend. And when he does, he is not a good extender of play. He is not a good playmaker. He is not somebody that is going to be a big time factor in his second play in the NFL. So you wonder at the NFL level, this is why he's not a first round pick for me, because he's too stagnant. And unless you're Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's pocket movement was next level, you're not really able to get away with that, right? At this time in the NFL calendar, in this current NFL climate. Too many systems are based on movement. Too many pass rushers are overwhelming offensive lines. And too many systems revolve around the second play and the quarterback being able to extend and uplift the system. But I definitely like the velocity. I think from the pocket, he's really, really solid, and he's probably a top 3 quarterback in the class from the pocket. I like the way that he makes his decisions outside the numbers quick, releases the ball quick, and he gets it out there accurately and on time. His release seems to be very funky in terms of away from his body and kind of like this. Open-armed very much, which, again, I don't know if this is just me watching him as a lefty, and I wonder what it would look like as a righty, but it doesn't feel good to me. He has really nice placement on many throws, especially down the sidelines vertically. The ball comes out accurately, consistently, especially downfield. The pocket movement is limited, needs to get better at this. And he is not very accurate when it comes to being pressured, which is another reason I wouldn't take him in the first round. It feels like he has not learned how to be a great pocket manipulator. And whenever there's people around him or people at his feet, he struggles to be able to move correctly to keep his mechanics intact to throw the ball within the pocket. So as a pocket guy, it would be fine, but he needs to be better at moving within the pocket to stay square and throw the ball surgically, like Tom Brady or Drew Brees or Peyton Manning, for example, where even if they were pressured, they were able to subtly move around and keep their mechanics square, so to the point where they were accurate and they were decisive. But he does tend to miss when he's under pressure more often than not, which he was not under pressure a ton, except against a few opponents. He throws a lot of screens, but he throws them well. And the system is very much college. It's very much outside the numbers or to the flats. There's not a lot of middle of the field throws, and if there are, they're usually open. So that's something that scares me a little bit. And to just put an exclamation point on it, he is shy to move, which scares me. So there's things that I like, there's things I don't like. I think he's a mid-round pick, in my opinion. I would not take him in the first round. Could I see him being a starting quarterback? Potentially. I think he could be a back end of the NFL type of starter, unless he really changes the way that he plays within the pocket in terms of his pocket movement and in terms of his athletic ability. If he can get better in terms of movement, then that could really make him a potential starting quarterback in the NFL. But he feels a lot like somebody like Jacoby Brissett, where he's rather limited, just in terms of he's got a strong arm, he's got size and stuff like that, and he's got the athletic ability, but he's not good at using it, and he's not a great playmaker. So there's things I like, there's things I don't like. Again, he's my number 5 for a reason. At number 4, I've got JJ McCarthy, which he's closer, in my opinion, to number 3 than number 5. I like JJ McCarthy. I didn't think I would as much coming into this process. I think JJ McCarthy, the hype is warranted to a certain degree, but I think there is potentially a pretty problematic case in terms of he could bust, but he could also, depending on where he goes, right? I don't think he deserves to be a top 10 pick. I just don't think there's enough on the tape to really tell you that he's a top 10 pick. I just don't think there's enough evidence, period. He's a young player, which I think I really give him credit for, right? He's only like, I want to say 21 or something. So he's much younger than a lot of the other prospects, which I give him a boost for that. And the couple things I really like about JJ McCarthy, I think he's very coachable. I think that was shown at Michigan, although you could also argue he had a great coach. So how much is there left to coach out of him? That's questionable, I guess. But he's very coachable, very confident, a great leader, won a ton of games because he worked within the offense. He made the plays in the right moments, especially on third downs. And I think the biggest thing that stands out to me, he's athletic and he's very mechanically sound. Those are the two things that coaches in the NFL are going to like a lot. He has really strong mechanics and really good accuracy, especially in the middle of the field. And he throws in the middle of the field more frequently than somebody like Jayden Daniels or Penix, which I think is translatable to the NFL. He worked and operated within an NFL offense, an NFL scheme, which is also very translatable. And I could see him being a solid starter in the NFL that's capable of winning you games in an offense that is like Shanahan-esque, like, let's say, the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell. I think he would be a best fit for that because he's got really good feet. He can run, he can move, he can get away from pressure, and he actually showcased at times pretty good ability to be a playmaker outside the pocket, to throw the ball on the move and do things that I really think translate in that system. I don't think he's somebody that would be a classic great pocket passer, but I do feel like in an offense where it's run-based, play-action-based, boot-based, and, you know, especially in the early years until he gets a little bit more confident, he does give me Zach Wilson vibes in some ways, in positives and negatives, right? He kind of feels like Zach Wilson talent-wise, or at least close, but he actually has mental toughness, which is a good thing. Like if you told me Zach Wilson was tougher, you know, mentally tougher, mentally smarter, I'd probably say that guy's a good starter in the NFL, right? Like he has talent, it's just like not all there with Zach Wilson. So, you know, slim frame, little smaller, not exactly the biggest human in the world, but he is very quick. He can run. He's fast. I think he would run like a 4.45, 4.5. He's fast. He's not quite as fast as Jayden Daniels, but he's fast. Seems to throw everything with power, which is good and bad. His touch is a little bit lackluster in terms of the ability to know when to put certain touch on a ball. He tends to throw the ball like a lightning bolt almost every time. He doesn't have a great arm, but he tends to use velocity at a high rate. Like he tends to throw those middle of the field throws very well because he always puts enough velocity on the ball, and you consistently see him play after play after play. I think other guys like Penix have a bigger arm than him, but if you watch them play on tape, it would look like McCarthy had a stronger arm because the amount of velocity he's able to put on the throw through his mechanics each and every play, if that makes sense. He has good feet and good bounce to him in the pocket. Although one of the biggest concerns and one of the negatives that I actually think is comparable to Zach Wilson is when people are around him, all of a sudden he becomes pretty small and pretty fragile and he goes down pretty quickly. I don't think he has a similar balance to somebody like Spencer Rattler, who I discussed earlier, who's about the same size. At least it appears to be that way. But, you know, he's also at times able to escape, able to get outside the pocket, and it's just inconsistent. Again, there's just not a lot of tape. Like, this is not a guy that threw the ball 30 times a game. But there's enough of a baseline here where you talk about like mental toughness, you talk about smarts, you talk about coachability, you talk about arm strength, you talk about accuracy because of his mechanics, which are already there. You talk about all those things together in a package, and he's 21 years old, and you begin to talk yourself into, this is a pretty good prospect. This is a first-round prospect. And in my opinion, it is, but I think it's later round. I don't think it's like first round, top 10, top 15. I think it's somebody I'd pick in the later first round if I wanted to take a chance on a quarterback. If I was the Vikings, I'd rather pick him at 23 than 11. And maybe that's not realistic, but I kind of feel that way. I would not look at him as a top 5 pick. I just don't think there's enough on tape. I don't think there's enough reps that you can really look at and say, wow, this guy's really good, because oftentimes he's rather blowing teams out. He's in a perfect scenario where he's getting perfect protection. His guys are wide open. Or, you know, like they're playing ahead. Like, so it's so easy to play quarterback when you consider all of those things. He's not the driving engine of the offense. It was often the running game. It's just, it's hard. This evaluation makes me kind of nervous. I'm not exactly sure what to do with it, but he doesn't have many deep attempts. I would say that on his tape. I would say that he is best at throwing the ball in the middle of the field, in the intermediate level of the field. I think, okay, continuing to go through my notes here. Clean and crisp mechanically. Works the pocket pretty well. He had some really bad picks against Bowling Green, throws some sketchy passes at times when under pressure. He can take off and he can go and he can run past people. He has some nice tight window, middle of the field throws. And I saw this way more commonly than I did on Jayden Daniels' tape. Some what the F are you doing throws. Makes some nice throws on the run and extending plays. He is definitely tough. He needs to learn how to throw with more touch. He's easy to bring down for sacks and struggled against blitz looks and simulated pressure looks. I especially noticed this in the college playoffs as well as the bigger games against Alabama and teams like that. He does a good job on third down, being patient and knowing when to extend a play to make a throw. That's something that stood out to me, is that he is more willing to extend plays on third downs or in gotta have it scenarios. It was almost like he was taught on first and second to just take what the offense gives him or to just kind of not make a mistake. And then on third down, he tended to kind of go like bananas. And that was an interesting just way to watch him. He throws an accurate ball on the move, doesn't have the same range downfield as Caleb Williams or Drake Maye, but it's pretty good. He's got a strong arm and quick feet. The deep ball isn't great. Processing is tough to kind of realize what he is. Is he smart? Is he not? A lot of guys are really open. How sheltered is he within the offense? I tend to think that he was pretty sheltered. He wasn't really given the opportunity to shine quite as much as you would like to see as an evaluator. And sometimes he needs to lead his receivers better. Sometimes he throws behind his receivers or too short for his receivers. So he's hit and miss as a player. But I definitely think due to his age and all the intangibles and the things that I discussed, the strong arm, the good mechanics, all that stuff, I think he's the fourth best quarterback in this class. The third best quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft is Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels, I'm not the biggest fan of in comparison to other people. This does not mean I think he sucks. Okay, so understand that. But I definitely feel like he is overrated. And I've made a separate video on Bleacher Report about this. And, some people are taking my opinions out of context on Bleacher Report because they posted a 3-minute clip out of my 30-minute scouting report about Jayden Daniels on why I wouldn't pick him in the top 3. I think Jayden Daniels is more likely to be an average starting quarterback than J.J. McCarthy, but I can see where NFL people would think that McCarthy has more upside. I also don't think it's enough upside to really discount what Jayden Daniels does at LSU, which was at often times historic. Now, that being said, you've got to provide some context. He played at ASU for a number of years and was fairly an average player, and became the Heisman, in my opinion, due to circumstance. He's a really good athlete that has some really nice strengths, but you put him in an offense with 2 first-round receivers, 1 absolute generational potential player, a really good offensive line with good pass protection all the time, playing him in games where his defense is not very good, so he's often having to chase the score very often, and he's very athletic, and oftentimes these type of quarterbacks take advantage. He really does remind me in certain ways of Bryce Young. I don't think he's as good on tape as Bryce Young coming out of college, so there's that, but I also think he's a lot more athletic, so I see some translatable things to the NFL that make me a little bit less cautious of his floor at the NFL level. Like, I think his floor is not the problem, it's his ceiling. I think that is the conversation about Jayden Daniels that people are having the opposite. People are talking about Drake Maye versus Jayden Daniels, and they're talking about the floor of Drake Maye and the ceiling of Jayden Daniels. I think it's in some ways the opposite, but also I feel like Jayden Daniels is a prospect that I don't see him having a very high ceiling. And this is why I say this. First of all, he's not that big. He's 6'3", 210. That's what he weighed in at the pro day. But you can kind of see on tape, he looks about 190, 195 at best. He's 6'3", but he doesn't look that tall. He doesn't look that big. And if you're wondering why, it's because his lower half of his body, just like Bryce Young, if you looked at them, they have very similar lower halves. They are not big. They are not, truck bums, right? They don't have those big dump trucks in the bum like Russell Wilson, right? Like Caleb Williams does. We'll get to him. like Kyler Murray, for example. These guys that are elusive, quick, within the pocket, can manipulate the pocket and get around and scramble. Daniels is a lot more of a track-looking athlete. He's linear, he's skinny, and that comes through in his speed, but I don't think it comes through in his ability to escape sacks. His balance is not very good. I don't think his lateral agility is as good as you would think it would be. It's certainly not Lamar Jackson. And I think far too many people are comparing him to Lamar Jackson. It's not close. He's not Lamar Jackson. It's not even anywhere close. I was very high on Lamar Jackson. You would have to speak to people that were not coming out of college to give you that comparison. But personally, I never thought Lamar was not a good passer. I always thought he was a good passer. I always thought he was elite talent. So I never could agree with those people that didn't think he was a great prospect. Some people think that Jayden is a better prospect. I don't think so. Personally, I don't see it. And the reason is I don't see the ceiling because he doesn't have a strong arm. His arm is mid. His arm is closer to Mac Jones than it is to Josh Allen, okay? His accuracy is hit and miss. It's decent, especially outside the numbers and down the field. But inside the numbers and certain plays when he's pressured is not very good. I think his play against pressure is below average. I think that his release is good. His mechanics are strong. And I think that's why people like him, because he can run and he's got good mechanics. That's why I think people like him a lot. And that's fine. But I do not see him in terms of being a passer being elite in any category. I don't think he's an elite in terms of arm strength. I don't think he's elite in terms of accuracy, short or intermediate. I don't think that he has any arm angles to his game that really wow me. It seemed pretty limited on tape. And he is not a very accurate player when he has a collapsing pocket, very similar to Bryce Young in one of the concerns I brought up about Bryce Young. He's too small. Collapsing pocket, he gets pressured. It's a problem. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's closer to Tyrod Taylor. Right? Flashes explosive rushing ability, mechanically strong and consistent. I also said in my notes, we're going to continue to go through this. I have a lot to say about Mr. Daniels here. And it's a lot due to the fact that I'm concerned that my team might pick him because I don't think he's willing and he's worth that pick. I don't think he is worth the 3rd overall pick in the draft. I think he's a first-round quarterback, but it's more so looking at a prospect that is a quarterback-needy team that has good guys around him. If I was the Vikings, I'd be happy to have him because I think I could work with him and the things that he offers. I think relatively soon he'd be good in the NFL, but I don't think he'll ever be great, right? So he has Thomas is a first-round receiver. Neighbors is a freak show. A lot of open guys and easy throws. The deep ball is influenced by the wide receiver. And this is something I brought up on Bleacher Report, which I wish they would have clipped, was the fact that even Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, was influenced by wide receiver play on the deep ball. Whenever people criticized Tom Brady for the deep ball, it was when he had short, small, quick receivers like Edelman or Wes Welker. And when he was great throwing the deep ball, he had Mike Evans or Brandon Cooks or Randy Moss. See how that works? See how it works with Jayden Daniels, especially throwing outside the numbers. That seems to be the case because you can throw it in the vicinity and these receivers can make plays on it. Now, the biggest thing that kind of sold me on the fact that he does not have high upside potential is the fact that he is not a great playmaker when he is on the move. So I think the things that I like about him is he's got compact release. He gets the ball out quick. He's pretty smart in the pocket. He knows where to go with the ball within his offense. He throws the ball well outside the numbers. He does not really look to throw the ball in the middle of the field, which scares me. But he's not a great playmaker. Every time he's under pressure or every time there's a chance for him to extend the play to throw the ball, he runs. And that is not a good trait. That is Justin Fields-esque. That is not Patrick Mahomes-esque. That is not Josh Allen-esque. That's not even Joe Burrow-esque. That's not Justin Herbert-esque, right? That's not elite quarterback-esque. That is average Tyrod Taylor, right? That is game manager-esque. That is like, okay, I don't have a play. I'm just going to run and use my speed, which works in college. But when you have a faster defense, faster linebackers that can pursue the ball, and when you get hit the way that you get hit, I mean, you watch this guy get hit. I could make a highlight reel for 10 minutes watching Jayden Daniels get absolutely annihilated and push back 10 yards. I mean, there are hits where I thought he died. Like, it's really bad. It looks like Kane choke slamming Stacy Keibler through a table. That's how bad it is, okay? And, like, there are plays where he does it to himself. Like, he'll run into the line of scrimmage and get annihilated. He's small, And he's kind of dumb in terms of his awareness of when to slide and when to kind of give up and when to kind of like get. I appreciate the toughness, buddy, but like, let's not get hurt here. Now, that being said, his rushing ability, I think, is real and I think will translate to a certain degree. He's just got to watch himself because he's going to get hurt. Like, he can run away from people. He's got probably 4.45 speed. Like, he can run. I don't think he has Lamar speed. I don't think he has Vic speed. Certainly not. But I do think that he has somewhere around Justin Fields speed. And I think the difference being that Fields is a much bigger human being. But Daniels can run, and he can run by people, and he'll be fast on an NFL field. It's more so like if he does get hit, it's going to be trouble. I thought the FSU tape was really, really bad. That was like the first game he played last season. I thought it was really bad, and that was the first one I watched, which partly, I guess, influenced my opinion on him. The ball hangs in the air too much for my liking in certain throws. Like, it's because of his arm strength. He's not really able to rip the ball as much as I would like. It doesn't have a certain pop to it, and I've come to realize that importance after evaluating Mac Jones and seeing him play on my favorite team. He has high pressure to sack percentage numbers, which is a problem for me. His big-time throw percentage is not very high, 10th in the career in this draft class. He misses more than you would lead to believe because certain people think he's really, really accurate, and I think he's accurate, but not really, really accurate. I think there's other guys that are more accurate. His most valuable asset in college is his rushing ability, but I fear in the pros that his frame and size will hold him back from being a reliable rusher at the NFL level in terms of consistency because I think he'll get himself hurt. So yeah, that's kind of the main gist of it. Like, I know that was very negative, but it kind of has to come across that way because of the way that people talk about him. Some people think he's the best quarterback in this class. I certainly don't see it. I don't see the upside that people talk about. I see a floor because he's a hard worker. He's got really solid mechanics. It comes out smooth. It comes out quick. He's got a good release. And I think in certain offenses, he'll be solid. But I do not see high upper echelon traits in terms of playmaking or arm strength or delivery as a passer. And his size scares me as a rusher. So those are all reasons he's number 3. I think he's closer to J.J. McCarthy than my number 2 quarterback. My number 2 quarterback in the 2024 NFL Draft might be a little bit surprising. His name is Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is viewed as a potential generational quarterback in this class, and I think he's really, really talented. Don't get me wrong, and I have to say this carefully because I think that going into this draft, you could make a strong argument that he's the best player in this class, and he's the best quarterback in this class. But when I'm also ranking my quarterbacks for the draft, I'm also thinking about the future. And I think Caleb Williams will hit a certain wall. I think he'll hit a certain ceiling that my number 1 quarterback potentially has the ability to surpass. And I think he will surpass, which when we get to Drake Maye, I think we'll get there. But Caleb Williams has some very unique and eye-popping, jaw-dropping traits that are definitely worth picking at number 1 overall, and I don't want to give Bears fans any sort of panic. But I also do not believe that long-term Caleb Williams will be the best quarterback in this draft class, which is why I rank him number 2. So let's talk about the things that I see in Caleb Williams. His release is one of the best releases I've ever seen. It is quick as hell, and it's especially impressive when it comes to not playing within the pocket and being able to release the ball outside of structure in a manner that gets the ball to where it needs to go in a ridiculously short amount of time. Like, he'll be running around in circles and turn his whole body around and just wham! Like, the ball's like in the end zone already, and it was 25 yards away. So he has that type of rare ability where it's like he has eyes in the back of his head. He has a playmaking nature to him that's hard to explain. But it's also, in my opinion, what makes it so special is the release speed at which he gets rid of the ball is unique and special. His escapability is extremely rare. I think he has really strong legs. He's able to break tackles with ease. He's really strong in his lower half, and it's hard to sack him because of it. It's reminiscent of Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray. And I think if you were to give me a comp for Caleb Williams, it's not Patrick Mahomes, although he does have some inherent kind of playmaking traits. that Patrick Mahomes also possesses, but I think he plays like Kyler Murray. He's also closer to Kyler Murray's size, where he runs around in circles and he'll make ad-lib plays that make you just say, wow, like that was impressive. I didn't think you could do that, or anyone could do that in the NFL. And that's where kind of you talk about Kyler. Now, Kyler's quicker and faster, in my opinion. Caleb's a little bit bigger and more powerful, but both are very similar players in terms of how they play. He has somewhat erratic mental processing, which scares me in the NFL. His decision-making, I think, is pretty good overall, but he always decides to go with the big play over the play that probably he should make, which is something that I think he needs to adjust to in the NFL, because if that consistently takes place at the NFL level, he's going to be in trouble. Like, he tries to be the playmaker and Superman way too often than he really needs to be. And sometimes he just kind of like, there's a throw there for 5 yards, but instead he'll throw it for 15. And oftentimes it works, but it's also like, like in the NFL, is that going to work? I don't know. He tries to always make the big play. Now, other things that I don't really think are going to translate to the NFL are some of the off the field things. Like, I do have concerns about this. I think he has a diva attitude. I think he's influenced by people around him instead of himself and what he foresees for his NFL future, which I think is concerning. It's sort of Kyler Murray-esque, where it's like, I'm so good at this, I'm so talented that I don't even need to try. That's something that concerns me, as well as the fact that he's already a star. Those are red flags. Like, he's a star. He's been paid millions of dollars already. That's concerning. Like, I don't really care. Maybe you don't care, but I do. I kind of wonder about how much is he going to be willing to sacrifice? How much is he going to work? Like, I don't know. I don't think the same as my number one quarterback. There are moments where I think he's a little bit afraid to get hit. Like, I think there's times where, on the move or under pressure, he kind of like bails or tries to like bail and run away and throw it away. And he doesn't simply stand in there and make a throw, which is something that I don't like, because I think you need to be able to do that at the NFL level. He fumbles a shit ton. Like, this guy is really loose with the ball, and the ball is constantly on the ground in big games and big moments. He needs to work on his ball security. But, man, back to some of the positives. Playmaking and mobility are impressive. Off the platform throws, he's got every single one you would think of. Underhand, overhand, sidearm, falling down, getting sacked, all the above. He's an incredible bubble screen RPO thrower. He can make every throw in the book. He's got a great pump fake. His pocket presence is weird. Like, he'll do this thing that Patrick Mahomes sort of does, where like he'll step up in the pocket and then pressure will come from behind him, and then he'll do like a spinorama run around, and then he'll like try to like throw the ball off platform, which I guess works for him, but it's not exactly by the textbook or anything like that. He plays backyard football constantly, almost like he's playing Madden and playmakering everybody down the field, which is concerning to me, but also kind of unique. He is not very good at sensing pressure from the corner position, or slot corners, or the second level. I don't think he does a very good job of seeing that and being able to get away from it. Oftentimes that's where he gets sacked or strip sacked. He has strong legs and quick feet. I do worry about him at the NFL level in terms of teams manipulating escape lanes and for him to run into sacks. That's something that I do worry about. The play is never over with him, which is a unique trait that Patrick Mahomes possesses, where you've got to be ready for the second and the third play. And that's oftentimes at USC where he got his big throws and his most impressive plays, which the play is never over. Guys would give up and he'd just make like a 40-yard dime for a touchdown. And it's like, okay, that was nice. His arm strength is definitely high quality. I don't think it's like Josh Allen, but it's good. And I think it would be around the top 10 in the NFL. It's really good on the run, especially he's got good range in terms of his throw power. I don't think it's as good as Drake Maye either. I think Maye has a better arm, but I think his release in combination with his arm strength and velocity is very impressive, especially on the move. Does he ever really read a defense? I put this note in my thing. Like, it kind of looks like Patrick Mahomes coming out of college, where it's like, does he even know what's going on, or does he just snap the ball and run around? You know what I mean? So that's something that concerns me. It's not like he didn't play with talented players. He certainly did, although his offensive line was not that good. Certainly not as good as Oregon. Certainly not as good as Washington, or anything like that, or certainly not as good as LSU. There's no doubt about that. The receiver play, the offensive line, not near those three quarterbacks levels. What else do I got here? Something in me just doesn't feel like Caleb Williams is going to be a massive success in the NFL. This is just a hunch more than anything. Now, the other side of me feels like I shouldn't be doubting him because everybody loves him. It's pretty unanimous that he's the first pick in the draft. But I seem to have too many concerns about how his game translates to the NFL level in terms of he's too playmaker oriented. He's not structure oriented at all. And he's too chaotic. And I just think that, like Russell Wilson, that won't last very long. And that's going to piss off some offensive coordinators. And I kind of wonder what happened at USC. You know, you even look at the game where he didn't play and a new quarterback went in, and I think they lit it up. And they really played well. And then you talk about my number one quarterback in Drake Maye, which we're going to get to here in a second, and why I like Drake Maye more. And it's like, well, the reason I like him is partly because Drake Maye didn't play a game. His other quarterback went in, the team got slaughtered, and that quarterback got sacked 7 times, right? Like, part of it is the difference between what happened when Caleb Williams didn't play, and part of it was what happened when Drake Maye didn't play. And I guess that isn't very fair, but it is a factor because you've got a really smart coach, a guy that's known as a quarterback whisperer, a guy that's known as an offensive guy, Cliff Kingsbury, an NFL coach, on the sidelines running your offense, and it still didn't look pretty, and it wasn't consistent, and there wasn't a rhythm to it. And I feel like it's a lot to do with the player at quarterback. It's a lot of just him playing Caleb Williams football, which is concerning. Like, I don't think that's not a concern. So yeah, guys, that's what I see with him. Don't get me wrong, super talented. I think he'll be a good quarterback in the NFL, and he has the best chance of being a good quarterback in the NFL. But I think there's a player that has a better chance of being a great quarterback in the NFL, and that guy is Drake Maye. Now, Drake Maye is my number one quarterback in this draft class, and I'm really hoping that the New England Patriots are able to select him at the number 3 overall pick. And the fact that my number one quarterback is not being talked about as a decisive top 2 pick is a little bit scary to me, but you guys are not here for consensus draft rankings. You're here for my opinion, so I'll give you my opinion. I think this process that we've seen from Drake Maye is known as draft fatigue. We nitpick a prospect to no end, and Drake Maye has always been seen as a top prospect from high school to college. He was recruited by Alabama. He decided to go to North Carolina instead of Alabama because it's his family school where his brothers play basketball there, and his family has always gone to North Carolina, which I think is a trait in terms of loyalty and just shows you the type of human being that Drake Maye is, right? And I just went back to reaffirm that I believe Drake Maye is the best quarterback in this class. And what I did was I went to watch one of the games that people say is one of his worst games, which is NC State, right? And that, I think, was his last game this past season. And there is a play in the red zone in the first half where he, at the line of scrimmage, identifies a corner blitz. He shifts the running back from the right to the left. He moves him to the opposite side. He shifts the protection. He points at the cornerback to tell that the running back is going to block him. Then when he snaps the ball, he rolls to the left as designed and throws the ball perfectly on the move to his left, his wrong side of the field, on the money, on an out route about 15 yards with tight coverage into a tight window for a touchdown. That is everything I want to see from a quarterback. And this is where we get to preference. Caleb Williams is a little bit smaller than I would like from my first overall pick. Caleb Williams is a little bit too chaotic. Caleb Williams' ball protection is a little bit less than ideal. Caleb Williams has some off-the-field concerns in terms of personality. Drake Maye has every trait that I would like from a franchise quarterback. He has a strong arm, and I think he'll have a top 5 strong arm in the NFL. He is big. He's 6'4", 223. But not only is he big, he's not stagnant. He is fast. He's faster than Caleb Williams. He can run. In fact, his scramble numbers show you that number one and number 4 in first downs on scrambles the last 2 years, and at 52% rate for first downs. Right? So his scramble first down rate was 52%, which means that when he runs, it's for a first down, right? He had the second highest EPA per scramble in 2023. So it showcases that some of the things people don't think he possesses, athleticism, quickness, speed, explosiveness as a runner, he does have. He looks like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. He's 6'4", 223. He has really good arm strength. He can throw from every angle. He can throw from inside or outside the pocket. He dealt with a really bad situation, bad receivers, bad protection, bad scheme. Still looked really good. Still led the team to, I think, 8 wins last year. And, a North Carolina school that's not very good. He played in 2 different systems. In 2022, he was the number 1 graded quarterback according to EPA. And in 2023, he still had a damn good season. And we'll get to more statistics down the road, but I just think about Drake Maye, and it's everything I'd want to be my Patriot quarterback and Chicago Bear quarterback or Washington Commander quarterback. It's attitude, competitiveness. You see him in the clutch make continuous plays against somebody like Duke. He is relentless when he's coming from behind in games, and he's constantly trying to make plays. He has every single tool that you would think you would want to be successful in the NFL. Pat McAfee told a story about how the quarterback coach at North Carolina who worked with Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, etc. This is, I believe, Clyde Christensen, who worked with Peyton Manning as well. I think he worked with Andrew Luck, and he said he's reminiscent of Andrew Luck, the way that he talks, the way that he's obsessed with the game, the competitiveness, the talent, all of it. He has everything that I want. Sure, are there things that I think he can work on? I think he can certainly work on some of his erratic decision making when he's pressed. And what I mean by when he's pressed is when he needs to make a play, sometimes he forces it, kind of like Josh Allen, where I think comparisons to Josh Allen are warranted because he's extremely physically talented. He can throw the ball with incredible range, deep down the field, outside or inside the pocket, off platform, really well. He can take big hits. He can run. He can scramble. He looks like Josh Allen. He's maybe not as physically talented as Josh Allen, but I think there's a chance he could become a smarter player than Josh Allen, a more cerebral player than Josh Allen, where he looks like Justin Herbert in the pocket. There's certain throws he makes that look like Justin Herbert. The fact that he's already calling protections at the college level makes me believe that he'll be a smart quarterback at the NFL level. He can throw with power. He can throw with velocity in the middle of the field. He was the best middle of the field thrower in college football. In fact, there are stats to back that up. Throwing in the middle of the field, he was number 1 in completions, number 1 in yards, and number 1 in touchdowns by a mile among the top 4 quarterbacks in this year's class, with 10-plus yard throws, the most, right? Big time throws. He's had 80 big time throws in his final 2 college seasons, which are, tight window throws for big plays down the field. The most, more than Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. That is the top 5, by the way, and that is a pretty impressive list. And Drake Maye has 8 more than Patrick Mahomes. Some of the things that people say, he's turnover worthy. He's not. He's 1.9% turnover worthy play rate, which was 11th best in college football. He doesn't hold on to the ball as much as you would think. He had a better pressure grade than Caleb Williams this year. He had less college interceptions than Mahomes or Josh Allen. He had the highest PFF grade against Power 5 teams among the top 7 quarterbacks in the class, according to Steve Palazzolo of PFF. He worked with the worst supporting cast in college football over the past 2 years, with a negative PFF wins above average. Caleb Williams had a 2.5, Jayden Daniels had a 2.21, JJ McCarthy had 2.7, and Bo Nix had a 3.6. There's just consistent stats that showcase what I see on film. He has faced pressure on 347 of 1,056 snaps. He threw 17 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions in those situations. I mean, it just keeps on going. And these numbers are better than Caleb Williams. The look, the feel, what you need to be an NFL quarterback, arm strength, off-platform throws. Sure, his release could get a little bit shorter and a little bit snappier, a little bit quicker. His mechanics, his feet could be a little bit more sound. Now, I have to mention that he was adjusting to a different style of drop back in 2023 than 2022. He played in an air raid system where he would straight drop back like an old school Johnny Unitas quarterback. In 2023, he had to manipulate the pocket and move a little bit more mechanically, which I think was an adjustment for him, which is where you maybe get some of the inaccuracies at times. He's not the most accurate, but he doesn't have accuracy issues, in my opinion. And Josh Allen wasn't the most accurate. I think that there are things that don't work for him right now at the highest level that Caleb might have, that I think he'll be able to work out. And I think he has so much more in terms of physical talent and ability. And I think mental capacity in terms of, I think he's super competitive. He plays like he's a younger brother, which he is. He has little brother syndrome. I think this guy projects for a 10-year career at a very high level. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I think he's going to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. He has effortless deep ball touch. He has the most impressive deep ball I've ever seen from a college prospect. He throws the ball down 20 plus yards or more. Second best in the nation at 58.6% adjusted completion percentage. He's very good at avoiding sacks. He's hard to tackle in open space because he's so big and so fast. It's reminiscent of Josh Allen, like FU attitude. I think that he can tighten his mechanics. I think that maybe he could use a year to sit if you want. I don't think he needs to, though. I think if it were to sit him, it would just be a mechanical thing that you want to work on and maybe get him to study some tape to get ready to operate that offense. But I think, the calling protections, the being in two different systems, it doesn't feel like he's a guy that needs to sit. I think this is a myth that people are making up to try to discount a kid. And personally, I don't see it. He's very good against the blitz. Every time a team blitzes him, which was often because they couldn't block, he often made them pay with big plays, rather extending or sitting in the pocket. So he does everything I want to see from a modern NFL starting quarterback. He's big, he's fast, he's got a strong arm, throw off different angles and platforms. He's smart at the line of scrimmage. The only thing he doesn't have is consistent accuracy, which I think you can work on. Other than that, he has all the tools and the traits, and he's only 21, 22. So Drake Maye to me is the best quarterback in this class when you're considering longevity, long-term asset. I think that Caleb Williams might have a higher floor than Drake Maye. But really, it's a matter of preference. If you like the playmaking madness of Caleb Williams, then I understand. But at the same time, I also feel like Drake Maye has a lot of playmaking ability. If you watch his plays in my Drake Maye is going to be amazing video, you will see that. But also, he is going to be good inside the pocket in the NFL, especially off play action. So I look forward to seeing what Drake Maye can do in the NFL level and what all these quarterbacks can do. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. Hopefully you loved this scouting report. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Peace.